from our interview with Dr. Umar, right? What did you think about that when you first saw it? And what is your reaction to that clip where he was talking about the church and the Black community?
To your point that you opened up with, I do believe that 99.9% of all religious leaders are in it for themselves.
Got you.
I look at all the brothers I know who went to jail, came out, opened up a church because it was the only hustle that was there. I look at all the politicians who fell from grace, or celebrities fell from grace, opened up a church because it was the only hustle that was available. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be honest. Yeah. Although there are some people who go into the ministry for the purpose of serving the Lord, most people go into politics and religion to serve themselves.
Got you. Okay.
In equal numbers? You think in equal numbers, people going into politics at the equal number or equal rate as people going into religion to serve themselves?
Oh, absolutely.
I stray away from making absolute statements.
Okay.
Because one, I'm not God.
Okay.
Right? So I'm not going to jump out there and just say.
So the more subscribers we get, the better the guests get. So please hit subscribe and support this Black-owned independent podcast. All right? See you in the show.
All people are this or all institutions are that. I'm not going to do that. Now, I don't mind people speaking about their lived experience, but to label the church a specific way because of your lived experience and your study, well, I mean, the church is evolving. The Black church is evolving. And so I don't feel like he has the stance or the right to just say that. And the gentleman that you were with who was speaking of his father so passionately, I admired him for that, because straight up, that was just dope to me. I feel like he just went over him and just continued to state what he stated. But your friend's experience with his dad actually clashes with what he was saying about the Black church. So are there Black pastors in church right now for the money? Of course. Are there people in any genre for the money? Of course there is. But then there's people who are in it to bless people and be there for people and see people uplifted. And that's in every single genre every industry you could think of, right? There's people who make music to make money, and there's legitimate artists that make music because they want to create a song to uplift, bless, or to like put their artwork out. Like Michael Jackson, Prince, these are real artists that wasn't doing this for the money per se, but they were shifting a culture. They were creating a sound. But then there are people who come into the industry that are like, hey, I see money in this. And money is, the artwork isn't their motivation. The money is. Do we have that in church? Absolutely. Do we have that in Toronto? Absolutely. But to say that's who we are, nah, I'm not feeling that.
How do you spot that?
Well, you spot it through the sacrifices that leader makes. You spot it through the sacrifices. So, for instance, one could say, Nelson Mandela is about the money. But then when you start to look at his story, where was he all those years? He was behind bars. Why? Why didn't he come out? He had an opportunity to come out. He didn't. Why not? Like, you start to look at the sacrifices, and then you say, wait a minute, there's something different about this guy or this woman, and that they're not doing this for the money. You can tell through the sacrifices. And so there are some pastors in the city of Toronto that, in our city, that you can tell they're making some real sacrifices. And you can just surmise that person is not pastoring for money, right? Because if they were, they wouldn't be making those type of sacrifices.
Listen, the more subscribers we get, the better the guests get. So please hit subscribe and support this Black-owned independent podcast. All right, see you in the show. And that leads me to something that we talked about, when it comes to sacrifices and the challenges that come with being a pastor. From our past conversation, you said that being a pastor is something that you'd almost not want to be because of the sacrifices that it comes with. If I'm misquoting you, feel free to clarify. What did you mean by that?
Well, that's not exactly what I said.
Yeah, clarify what
you meant. My struggle right now with being a pastor is the fact that there is no real authority in the church anymore. Now, the word of God used to be the authority, but we have people who are saying, this is my truth, or people who are saying, my therapist said this. I hate when people tell me that, because I'm like, I can't fact check your therapist. I can't actually pick up the phone and call your therapist to ask, did you really tell this to this person, right? So the therapist trumps the pastor. Your feelings trumps. Let me not say the pastor. Your therapist trumps the Bible. Your feelings trumps the Bible. So when you remove the authority of the church, which is the word of God, it becomes a very scary place to pastor, right? I think in the end of the book of Judges, it says that every man did what was right in their own sight, and it was just chaotic, right? And so for me, it's just a challenge when I open the word of God and say, this is what it states, and then the rebuttal is, you don't really subscribe to it, or how do you know it's real? Or if that is the argument, then to me, it scares me, because I'm not scared, because I'm never scared. It's not scared, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's a worry of mine, because I'm like, without the authority, what do we have? Put it this way. I'll give you a prime example. This might sound crazy, but this is a real good example. Someone commits murder on the street. You witness it. You're a cop. You pull up. I just saw what you did. You arrest them and put them in the car. Halfway to jail, for some reason, they have the ability to stop the car, take off the cuffs, and walk out. You're like, what are you doing? The person turns to you and says, I don't really subscribe to the laws here. What do you do? Let's just say you prosecute that person and they go to jail for life. They committed the murder. They go to jail for life. Sitting behind bars. 3 days of sitting behind bars. They're like, I'm not feeling this. And they have the ability to open the cell and walk out. And no one can do anything, because they're like, I don't really subscribe to the laws here. We would live if that was the case, this world would be chaotic. The church has laws and authority called the Bible. And when we bring that up and you're like, I don't really subscribe to it, then it's lawless. And I'm pastoring a generation that constantly tells me about their feelings, their truths, their triggers, their trauma. And I'm the pastor that's telling them that you can move past this and still be great, right? And so that's the struggle for me.
Interesting. That was a very loaded statement.
Yeah.
Because I feel that, especially with Christianity, there's a lot of denominations that go under it, and a lot of different beliefs that go under it. Even like following the seventh-day Sabbath versus the Sunday versus how you praise in church. There's a whole bunch of different rules and regulations that come to it. But now, how do you differentiate between somebody that's following rules and somebody that's being relationship focused with God? Because there could be somebody who's following the words to a T, but their actual relationship is in the gutter. You know, I can say that for certain, because I grew up in the church, and when I was following the rules to the T, my relationship with God was horrible. You know.
Yes.
What do you think?
So when you look at Samuel,
Okay.